Welcome back. It is Deb Hutton. Just a few minutes ago, I broke the news that former Mayor John Tory has made what I know was a difficult decision to not seek the spot of being mayor as of this fall in the election for 2026. He joins me now in studio, a studio that's a familiar place for you. You spent a lot of time here.
I should start ranting and raving about the statement that man has put out.
I'll give you lots of time to do that if you'd like.
Sure you would.
So I did read your statement in its entirety in typical John Tory fashion. It was fulsome and contained a lot of both personal feelings, but also thoughts for the city. I don't usually talk about private conversations I have on air with political figures, but you and I have talked several times. I shared that I was very proud to co-chair your last campaign. And so we've talked about your thoughts on potentially running. And I can say they were serious thoughts. And in fact, the last conversation we had prior to yesterday, I left that thinking you were going to be announcing you were running. What changed?
Well, what changed, it wasn't yesterday, but in the last little while, I've had I had lots of encouragement, by the way, from people. And it was, this is people think it's a trite phrase, but when I was on the subway as recently as today, and I'm feeling badly, I even ran into a member of parliament on the street today who said to me, I'm with you and I'm going to help you and all this kind of stuff. I felt badly that I wasn't able to be honest with him about what I knew was going to happen later today. But what stands, when I say stands in the way, it's the wrong way to put it. But what happened along the way was that I sat down and had the ultimate discussion with my family and the people close to me. And, they believe that the potential for them to get, re-embroiled in the aspects of my personal life that led me to step down, which, by the way, was just me holding myself to account and trying to protect the office that I held so that I stepped away, because there were people who had different views on that too.
For sure.
But they felt that the likelihood of that coming back in a way that would cause more harm was very real. I think they were actually right, and I needed them perhaps to tell me that, to be perfectly honest, because nobody can be more affected by that than the people closest to me. And because there was every indication, even when I wasn't a candidate, there were advertisements being run, about my personal life, and people talking about that a lot, even people who are candidates. And so I just, you just have to say to yourself that maybe is a message that sort of says you have to sort of get your priorities straight and decide that you're going to just leave this one aside, and I'll still be very active in the city. I mean, I'm involved in too many things, but there could never be too many. I'm involved with TIFF and with Wood Green and Scarborough Health Network and Rainbow for Faith and Freedom, and I could go on. Community Living Toronto. I'll stay involved with all that, and I hope I can make as big a contribution. But that was the thing that caused me to say in the end that I should just not do this.
You know better than anyone. I mean, you've been in politics from your 20s, maybe your teens even?
14.
14, yeah. There you go. Provincially, federally, obviously municipally, and you know that politics can be a dirty game. Did you expect what you thought was coming had you put your name forward?
I didn't really, but I'm not naive. I mean, I've been around, and I felt that because I had held myself to account by resigning the office of mayor to both protect the office, as I said, but also to say that I'm going to be held accountable for something that was very much in my personal life.
Right.
And it had an intersection, I'll admit, but the bottom line is I held myself to account. I owned what happened, and so I'm not complaining about this, and I'm just saying there was a 100-page report written by the Integrity Commissioner that examined every aspect of this, I can assure you. And so I felt that for that to be a significant sort of issue or the basis for an attack on me 3 years later was not really the way I would do politics. But having said that, you can't complain about or second guess these things. I mean, they are what they are. And I really now just want to make sure that the city is, that we address some of the issues the city faces, because what was motivating me to run wasn't a desire to have that office again. I would have loved that because I loved the job, and I did my best. We got record investments in transit. We kept taxes low every year, not just election year. We saw the city through the pandemic and did various things like that. The list is actually quite long. Got money for housing from the federal government, billions of dollars. But, and it's not even about winning. I mean, people kept saying to me, but you could win. And I'd say, well, yeah, indeed you could. That's political. And the decision I made was a personal decision because I believe I certainly felt I had the support from across the city, and the polls seemed to indicate that, to have a great shot at winning. You can never know. You've been around politics too. You never know for sure. Look, that seems to be the way politics is done nowadays, and I regret that because I have been in it for a long time. And I've made some mistakes too over time when I've been helping other people with campaigns and so on. But by and large, I tried the entire time I was mayor for sure to not get personal, like to say, look, okay, there are issues on which you're going to disagree and, different perspectives people have on the issues, and you should debate those. But we are where we are.
Yeah, but let me be blunt for people who maybe aren't reading through the lines a little bit. You had an affair, you acknowledged it, and you stepped down. And as you said, you held yourself personally to account for that. And you lost a job you loved because of your actions. And we fast forward 3 years, a strong sense that people wanted you to run. As I said, you and I had many conversations, as you did with others, that you were thinking of running seriously, actually were pretty close to saying 100% I'm there. And you found out that others who are seeking that job actually planned to play dirty and to bring forward.
Well, they'd actually started before the campaign, before I even said I was running.
Exactly, and bring forward what happened and what you took account for 3 years ago.
Yeah, that you summed it up very well. And
does that make you angry?
My family and the woman that I had a relationship with, I still have a relationship with. And so in that sense, the notion that any of those people, and starting with my family, but any of those people and people close to me would be hurt again by that, where I did hold myself out to account on behalf of just something I did, just didn't, I wasn't prepared to take that risk for them.
To make you angry?
I've been around this business, and so I could probably have handled it, but I just took the decision not to do that.
To make you angry?
No, just disappointed. And maybe who should I be disappointed in? Maybe I should be disappointed in myself. But at the end of the day, I'm disappointed because I think the city is at a turning point, and we can maybe talk about that. I think it really, and they always say that, every election's a turning point, but I really do think the city's at a turning point given everything that's going on in the world and here in our own city. And I felt that some of the tools that I have, some of the experience that I have, some of the ability that I've proven to work with other governments and so on would have been useful, at least to put that in front of people and say, you can have this choice or not. And I've always said the voters are always right, because they always are, whatever they choose to do. But I'm not angry. I don't know how many times you've seen me angry, maybe once or twice. You used to prepare me for debates, and you did such a good job. I didn't get angry doing that.
I tried to make you angry many, many times. Yeah. I'm chatting with John Tory. He has just announced in the last half hour that he will not be seeking the job of mayor in the election in 2026. And you've agreed to stay, so we will get into some of the issues that you might have talked about had you been running. Just on a personal level, you said since you were in your teens, 14, you've been involved in politics, and I know we'll talk about some of the things you'll continue to be involved in. But is this the end of an era for pure politics, for seeking office?
Oh, I think so. I mean, I can't imagine, because, by the way, the same set of circumstances, maybe as time passes even more, my personal life and what happened in 2022 would become less relevant. I don't know, but I mean, I can't, I think there's many other ways in which I can contribute. I have been doing so for the last 3 years. I've been very busy as a private citizen, helping all kinds of organizations, and happily so. And so I'll keep doing that. And, I suspect that everything has to come to a close in terms of these chapters in your life. So my guess is you've seen the last of me in elected politics, but,
never say never?
We tell people never to say never. We, as in our capacity as people who've given advice to politicians, but I think that's a wrap, I think.
As I said, we will talk about sort of the issues for the city going forward. But your greatest proud moment as mayor, what was it?
I think it was just seeing the city through the pandemic. I've had more people come up to me in the past year when the notion of my running again was to the fore, and even before that, and just say, every morning you came on TV and you reassured us that you were there and you were answering questions. And frankly, I was answering the same questions every morning to which there were no answers. When is this going to end? And what about vaccinations? And what about this? And what about that? And there weren't any answers, but I was there. And Toronto achieved, we still had a terrible toll taken in terms of people who died and other things with people's mental health. But in the end, we did better than most major cities. In fact, maybe all major cities in the world. And I'm proud of that. And I'm proud of many other things. I could go on at length, but we have to go to traffic, so I know that I can't.
You know how to do this. I'm Deb Hutton with NEWSTALK 1010. You're listening to a conversation with former Mayor John Tory, live in our studios, having announced that he is not going to be seeking the job of mayor. Thanks for staying. We'll chat in just a few minutes, but it's 4:15. Time now to check on News Talk 1010 Time Saver Traffic.
On the 401, a westbound collector past Leslie, a collision still blocking the left lane, slow from Victoria Park eastbound.